What is going on, guys? I know a lot of people on YouTube own Air Canada stock, and I've seen a lot of speculation on where the stock price is going to go over the next few months, and I just wanted to provide a bit of perspective that I think might cause a lot of you guys to look at the stock a little differently. Before we get into things, I actually just made a Facebook group, Canadian Investing Nation, that's absolutely free to join, where we can talk stocks all as a community. Feel free to join, post news, stock tips, bull cases, videos, or anything related to the stock market, really. It's designed to be a discussion style page, so come on over there and let's build that community up together. Link to join will be in the description. Also, if you sign up for Wealthsimple Trade using the other link in the description, you'll get a free $10 when you sign up and deposit $100 using that link. Wealthsimple is the platform that I use for all of my Canadian investing, and it's completely free to use and has zero commission fees on all Canadian trades. But anyways, I've wasted way too much of your time already. Let's get into the video. So like I've said, I've seen a lot of chatter on where this share price will go on YouTube, the comment section, Yahoo Finance conversation boards. So I wanted to just provide my perspective with a little bit of insight that might cause a lot of people to look at the stock a little bit differently. This would apply to anybody considering buying Air Canada stock and maybe help out to make your decision from a risk-reward standpoint a lot easier. And also for anybody that owns the stock already, it really might help out make your decision easier when thinking about when to sell your shares. Maybe you know this already, and maybe this isn't necessarily news to you, but like I said, I think there's a lot of people that might find a lot of value in this perspective. So if I told you what you already know, and I wasted your time calling you a piece of shit, and hit the dislike button, go for it. So if you've been following Air Canada stock since the cove hit, and the stock price crashed 75%, you probably, like me, bought this stock thinking there was massive upside. I'm up about 60% on my position, and I believe there's still a lot of upside to the stock. But that's exactly why I made this video, because a lot of people are going to look at the stock and go, wow, this stock was trading at $51 at its highest before the cove, and now it's trading at $25. There's still room for another double up. And yes, if you look at the stock price like that, you might believe that. But I just want to provide a little bit of perspective that might be a cold hard dose of reality for a lot of people, and it may give people a much more realistic upside to expect. So if you've been dialed into this stock at all over the past year, you know this company has raised capital by issuing shares to help sustain its ridiculous cash burn levels. I've covered it a few times on this channel, and if you've been watching my videos, you know exactly what happens when a company issues shares. But just in case you don't, let me describe it to you super quick without sounding like a broken record to all the people that have heard me say it 100 times already. I'm also just going to completely recycle a clip of me explaining it in another video because Lord knows I'm lazy as So if me, you, and a couple buddies ordered a large pizza to watch the Cowboys dump all over the Bucks week 1 next year, and the pizza was cut into 8 slices, you get a nice sized slice of pizza. Now, suppose 4 more people suddenly show up at the door and we invite them in. To avoid being rude, we cut that pizza into 12 slices instead so that they can have some. So in this case, you're still going to get your 1 slice, but because there's 4 people and 4 more slices, that slice is a lot smaller now than it was before. Are you happier now? No, obviously not. So why would you be happy when a company does the same thing to your ownership of that company? So that's essentially what happens when a company issues shares. So since Air Canada issued shares so many times along the way, I remember them doing at least 3 times off the top of my head, but they may have done it more than that. But because they did this, our slices of the pizza that is Air Canada got much, much smaller. So I was messing around and trying to figure out how much smaller exactly. And I think the results might shock a lot of people. So let me hit you with it. Back in January 2020, when Air Canada was trading at its all-time highs of over $51 per share, I think it actually peaked out around $52 or so. So basically I found the market cap, stock price, and approximate shares outstanding at the time of the peak on January 13th, 2020. And from this, I calculated what kind of stock price today's market cap would have been had Air Canada never issued any shares. So if Air Canada traded at the same amount of outstanding shares that it did before the cove, it would be trading around a price of $32.50 per share today. That's up 27% from where it currently is. So obviously it sucks. We should all be up another 27% on our shares. But at the same time, that company needed to raise money by issuing shares to be able to stay alive. So whatever, I'm fine with it. Now let's see how much potential upside there still is though, because that's what's important. So I took Air Canada's peak market cap back in January 2020 and divided it by the current shares outstanding, and it gave me a share price of just over $41. So when Air Canada, as a company based on market cap, was worth the most that it's ever been, just under $14 billion, the share price was $52. Now, because of all the share dilution that happened over the past year or so, if Air Canada were to reach the same $14 billion valuation that it was at its all-time highs, it would be trading at a share price of $41. So that's $11 less. Which, don't get me wrong, that still would imply another 60% upside, which would be more than incredible to receive that kind of return in maybe 2 years or so. But for all the people that are thinking that Air Canada is just going to magically go up to $50 again right when things are back to normal, this might not be realistic. Air Canada as a company is in shambles compared to where it was. And keep in mind how much your share price has been diluted. Now, one thing actually going in Air Canada's favor is that because they were able to raise all this cash, their balance sheet is actually in a lot better shape right now after all the mess that the Cove brought than it was before when the stock was trading at all-time highs, which is actually really assuring. So the company's balance sheet's in better shape now. Plus, you've got the potential to draw upon cheap cash from the government's bailout package, and the potential support that the government's new stake in the company might reward them with. So you could argue that once the world returns back to normal, you could argue that Air Canada might be worth more than it was back in January 2020. Especially if they're able to charge crazy prices for plane tickets and still fill up planes because people are still willing to pay the price because of that pent-up demand. But do keep in mind that Air Canada will technically be hitting all-time highs at around $41 per share, whether it looks like it or not. Like I said, that's a different perspective to keep in mind when thinking about when to maybe sell your Air Canada shares if you're in this for a quick turnaround. So when you see articles on Motley Fool like this, saying that Air Canada should hit $50 a share by September, take this with a grain of salt. For this to happen, Air Canada would have to be trading 22% more than its all-time highs, with business likely not even returning to normal yet by September. And if it does hit the $50 range by September 2021, I might be selling every single one of my shares and never looking back, because to me the upside of most of the travel industry rebounding would already be priced in. In September 2021, if business still isn't quite fully back to normal yet, and this stock is priced significantly higher than its all-time highs, I don't see why you wouldn't be considering selling. That would be a little concerning to me. So at that point, in my opinion, there's a lot more downside than there would be upside. Now another very, very important thing to keep in mind is the dilution still isn't over yet. Bailout came, but part of the package on top of the shares issued and given to the government. The bailout terms also included over 14 million warrants for the government to exercise into shares over the next 10 years. These are basically call options for the government to buy the stock at a $27 share price. Once these are exercised, it will dilute the value of your shares even more. Now, because they're exercisable within 10 years, there's a very, very good chance that you may sell your shares well before the government even has a chance to exercise these warrants, and before your share value is even diluted. But who's to say that if Air Canada goes on a run this fall, like Motley Fool is predicting to $50 by September, that the government doesn't just pull trigger and exercise them? Also, one last thing to keep in mind before I leave you guys is that another clause of the bailout package was restricting Air Canada from buying back any of its shares, which kind of pissed me off. The government basically prevented Air Canada from buying back any of its shares and prevented them from restoring any of the value that they took away from shareholders by diluting shares over the past year. And I'm not sure how long this restriction's in place, but hey, that's our government, man. And it is what it is, but it is another thing to keep in mind. As for my plans for my Air Canada shares currently, you guys heard what I'm going to do if it goes on a massive run in September. But if you want to know what I plan to do when I plan on currently selling, you can check out my last video where I broke down Air Canada and Cineplex's earnings. I go into depth about my target sell prices and expected time frame for selling Air Canada shares at the end of that video. But with that being said, this has been my time, and I thank each and every one of you guys and gals for yours. Hopefully this did provide a bit of value for some of you guys, and nobody feels like I wasted their time here. I just wanted to give everybody a bit of perspective and something to consider when you see the Motley Fool, who's been known to try and pump stocks before, give ridiculous price targets like $50 by September. Just remember to take things like this with a grain of salt. Anyways, appreciate it again as always, and take care guys.